Hey everyone, I'm back to talk about this tool that I've had in my classroom now for a couple years, and I've shared out, and it's been used by lots of folks based on messages I've got. I've updated it, so it was originally 40 sentences, now it is 50, so 10 more sentences. But I kind of want to just like talk through it because there wasn't a video component at the beginning, and I want to share about the ways it shows up in my classroom currently. But of course, if you have other ways of using it, feel free to leave a comment or email me. I'd love to hear how others are using it. So it's 50 great sentences, and like the impetus behind this, and I talk a little bit more here. And I do have that full post explaining it in this link. It'll also be linked or underneath this video. Is I feel like we talk all the time about wanting students to be creative and to go outside the box, but we don't give them the tools to make that a reality. So this has been one of my ways to try to make that tangible, to show them a path towards that. So what I did, and I did this a couple summers ago when I had a little bit more time, is I just went through all the books that I'd read and all the dog ears, and just like finding my favorite sentences and looking for ones that kind of showed me something different that I could then bring into the classroom. So these are all from books or texts that I've read myself. This is very authentic to me, which is why I love it, though you're welcome to do the same with books you've read. And I organize them in different categories, so like playful and purposeful punctuation moves. And what you'll find are 50 slides like this one, which is starting with a colon. It was from Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi, which is just like in the pantheon, right, of amazing books. So introduce this with a colon. The family is like the forest, colon. If you're outside, it is dense, semicolon. If you're inside, you see that each tree has its own position. So it's just a cool move, right? The colon and semicolon balance. And I try to provide a technique explanation. I also try to provide a note of what this would look like in my classroom from a teacher's lens of what I would use it for or where in our sequence I would use it. And then I try to provide an application prompt of like, what would this look like? Because I have it to people use this as basically like their bell ringers for like a semester. I use it as bell ringers at points, and I'll explain that. So I've got like, high school is like blank if blank semicolon if blank. So like giving them structure to try it out for themselves, then share with others. And then what you're doing, hopefully, is you're pushing the limits of where they can go outside of like our traditional, like here's how you use a colon, here's a list of three things. Like I feel like we fall into these confinements in trying to support and scaffold for students. We actually build walls around what they're capable of doing. So I have lots of these, right? I'm not going to click through all of them. You are welcome to explore. Goes through, I've got grammatical structure as meaning itself, so like where the structure is one of those. I have repetition moves. I think that's one of my favorite ones. It kind of jumps off the page that sometimes like, and you'll see a mixture of like some back in the day classics. Like I've got James Joyce's Ulysses, which I've used in the classroom, this specific one, all the way to much more recent books like Jennifer Egan's A Visit from the Goon Squad, Louise Erdrich's Brown House, Meghan Majumdar's Burning. Like there's so many books in here, and again, this kind of shows books I've read and loved. But I also have the innovative elements section, and at the very end, I'm going to go to the very end. I have a separate section for Brian Doyle, who's just like he passed away several years back. Just like for me, he is on my Mount Rushmore of books that have meant the world to me. So I just have tons of his sentences because I've read tons of his stuff, and he's like, in my mind, one of the most playful writers in terms of imagining what a sentence can do in a book and in an essay. So I have lots of his. If you've never read him before, go read his stuff. It's better than anything you'll find here. So you'll find lots of these. And then at the end, links to the same stuff. I also have a link to the spreadsheet because some people find it easier to navigate this. And I have updated the spreadsheet as well with the new sentences. So I've got that linked on here. So you'll find all the same resources, but just organized a little bit more cleanly for folks who don't want to move through that slide deck. And then what I wanted to also show you in this video is how does this show up in my classroom? So like one example is like this was a bell ringer with my sophomores, not like my AP students. Like we just use this in my normal sophomore English class. So I put this on the board. I walked them through the sentence. I talked about what it looked like. And then I gave them an opportunity to use the problem was, semicolon, the problem was. I shared some examples on a previous slide of what this would look like. And they did this in their bell ringer. They shared this in their groups. And another one, a later lesson, looked like this. Whoops, let me go to another, my bad. One second. There we go. So another one was this one. So I used this is from Dostoevsky. So again, students using Ulysses and Notes from Underground as exemplars is a cool thing. But what can a decent man speak of with most pleasure? Answer of himself. Well, so I will talk about myself. So I gave them two different examples from my own life. And then they did this as their bell ringer. And again, shared with groups so they could see other moves. And why I want to show you these individual ones is this was a unit towards the end of the year. And I find these more helpful in the second semester when I'm really trying to push students in different ways. And we were going to do a narrative writing project. And a lot of times, like introductions are not always great. So I had them do a series of lessons with bell ringers like this. And then when we started writing, you can show you the slide. When we started writing, is I asked them just to start brainstorming and free writing from one of their bell ringers. So they had their different openings. I know it says 4. I've only got 3 right here on the screen, but they took different examples of bell ringers they had done to try out these sentences, and that led off their piece. Now, they didn't have to do that. Some of them just went a different direction, but a lot of them made it their own, found their own way, and it opened the door to some of like the best openings I've had in years of doing this project. And it was just a really cool way of this becoming a tangible outcome in our classroom. Another way I like to use this is as a targeted tool. And again, I'm not going to walk you through this is for my AP class, one of our essay projects, but I actually, you can see right here where it says 10 creative sentence structures to experiment with. I hand selected out of the 40 at the time, the examples from the 50 sentences. And I put them as a link in separate. You just like copy the slides, put it as like 10 slides. So if you open it up right here, let's just see what it looks like. And it allowed them to go through and try out some different things with their own writing, especially as an extension. So for the students who are working ahead of pace and they want to challenge themselves, this is a great tool, not just to use as your bell ringer for everyone, but if you have students working ahead and you want to challenge them as writers, putting these exemplars in front of them can be a really powerful move as well. So I showed them this, we used it in that way. Big picture though, this is just a tool that for me has been a great resource. And like everything on the Broken Copier, my goal is to just, if something's helpful for me, put it out there in case it's helpful for you. And of course, if it is helpful, feel free to share it with other people to adapt it as your own. Don't like throw it on Teachers Pay Teachers or anything, but like if it's helpful, use it, right? Like that we're all in this work together. As always, if you haven't subscribed to Broken Copier, please feel free to do so if you'd like to get more resources like this and spread the word. And if you're watching this and about to begin a new school year, I wish you the best. Take care.